right, let's get on our. Thank you for our country, for all the people that are in it, help us to respect each other, and to build a brighter future. We saw some dark things all over the country last week, and it frightened a lot of us. So please give us strength as we move forward. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, we do have to pull one item out, due to the earliness of this meeting, is moved it. We will not have any water sewer termination service extension requests. And we'll cover that later on in the meeting for next time.
So we're not gonna approve the minutes?
No, you approve the minutes.
Okay.
The second part, that's the next agenda, scratch that out. So you'll be approving the minutes, that's.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, Councilor Nard has made a motion to approve the agenda. Councilor Hanson has seconded that motion. Any debate, any concerns? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item, the consent agenda, that includes the approval of September 8th, 2025 minutes.
That'll be it.
And that's it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Councilor Renard has made a motion to approve the consent agenda. President of the Council Coates has seconded that motion.
Legally seizing a fishing boat Saturday and occupying it for 8 hours. The Venezuelan government released a video showing.
Aye.
Opposed?
Members of the
Motion carries.
official
Public comments. Do we have anybody?
F-35 stealth fighter jets.
Oh, yeah, but.
We have one.
Build up in a region joining at least.
Yeah.
All right, come on up.
Okay, can I pass these out or? do I
Sure,
hand them in?
sure.
Thank you.
We're not going over all of that, but I would have some of them for your information.
Thank you.
Thank you. And who's a copy of that, but you don't write it. So. I just gave away myself.
Here, you want my time?
This is the top one. Thank you.
It's none that walks around.
It's my love. So we all know there's a cat problem. And story. I'm Deborah Brown. So what I'm trying to do is work with the city, and Al and I have talked several times. And I have talked with Kevin, and I've talked to the Wind Tower Foundation. If I go through the city, and the city handles basically the money and some of the management, but I do all the grunt work, then I can probably get a grant. But for me to do it by myself, it's not gonna work. So we know, again, there's many. I don't know if the city has any traps, but I've talked over, I'd like to use the local vet clinic. They don't give a discount at all, which is kind of hard. So on an average, between a spay and neuter, rabies, a PRCP, and the parasite control, which is really important, it's 150 or 143.70. You don't have those notes. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But this gives my idea of the trap neuter return. I'll let you read it later, all the improvements, the cost savings for the town, for the people, for everything else. Healthier cats, population control, also pollution control, no spaying or trapping as much, but spaying is kind of bad. The benefits for both cats and humans, it goes through that. I think it's just a real important thing to do. And if I can get this grant to go through, I would like the next one, if I can get it, to go to help low-cost seniors, disabilities, people with disabilities. The seniors, if you look around town, most of them that have massive amounts of cats around their house for their feeding are seniors and with disabilities. So everybody kind of knows that. And I think those are the areas the seniors need that for therapy. For somebody, so they don't get lonely. And the disabled need it for therapy too. So that's all I have for you, but. Hopefully we can work with Smoky Hill and get a grant. And go from there, and Alan's got all the information, and Alan, I'll have to work with a city person. Maybe Kevin, I don't know, to fill all that out, cause it's above and beyond my ability. Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thanks.
Council members, we talked, we had this tonight. I think the city's been all favor of the TNR program, which happened to release. And, it's called, I always call it release, but anyhow, TNR programs, I would probably suggest the council make a motion that the city supports Mrs. Brown's efforts in applying for funds, and as the city serves as the, applying agency to choose the government legislature.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that the city, would you say, support Deb Brown in the TNR program? And that the city, you know,
Serves as
a like liaison or
fiscal agent,
fiscal agent for the,
grant application, yeah.
for the grant application.
I'll second. All right, Councilor Hanson has made a motion and Councilor Allen has seconded that motion to support Deb Brown and become the agency, the municipal agency to support her as she applies for grants with the Trap Neuter Return Program. Any concerns about that arrangement? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now it's on to public hearing for the 2026 City of Ellsworth budget. Do we need to open that hearing at all?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, before you open, maybe I can get some comments on the budget. Basically, all along, and I work a lot of this through myself and with very specific department heads. But, and maybe not what they used in the past, because my goal was to keep the taxes down lower. One thing this year you had was this evaluation, and that we got from the county, clerk back in July or June. Showed that we had an evaluation of $20,534,684, which is a growth of about 5%, because last year the final valuation on November 1 was $19,624,480, so about a 5% growth. It's a good thing. Last year's budget, last year you shot your mill levy to 90 mills. But when the final taxes came out, and you got your tax statement in November, it was only 84 mills. So what happened? Well, last year, and I can't explain why. Last year, when the city was given their valuation in July last year, they had dropped it to like 18,500,000. Have no idea. It was dropped about 5% from the year earlier. When the final came in November, and they're always going to move. What we get in June, on June the 5th, will never be exact November. Never has yet. I've never seen a gap that big though. But it returned back up. So last year, in essence, when it was all said and done, the valuation from 2024 to 23-24 had grown by about just a little smidge. This year, a larger jump. Now, will that happen what will happen November 3rd? Hopefully it's close. If it's close, now remember, our budget we're going to propose tonight is for 80.247 mills. Because basically we're going to levy $1,647,837 worth of taxes. Based on the valuation I gave for the $20,534,000, you have the mill levy of 80.247. If that valuation drops at all, that number's lower, the mill levy will creep a hair higher. Likewise, if that number goes up, the mill levy comes down a little bit. Never guarantee, and that's why you do estimated mill levies, not locked in place there. Basically, we're going to be funding $1.5 billion, funding $501,714 for the general fund, and $146,123 tax dollars. But the budget's going to be a little higher because the other money coming in. Taxes will be used for the library, which will be increased for them this year. The mill levy 8.247. Our revenue neutral rate means is how many dollars of tax due last year, and they don't want you to increase that. So last year, our revenue neutral rate is 80.493, so we're below it. We've had some good, what has helped this year, we got some cash carryover working for us because a lot of the things we budgeted for this year didn't happen. I think last year when you budgeted for a full staff police department. We haven't been there most of the year and it's dropped some. Now we've built back slowly, but, and some of that I think we can use to gain back our, get some reserve. On a side note, it ties with the budget though, tomorrow. And Angela and I are gonna be talking to S&P, Standard & Poor's. We have a Standard & Poor's rating and A+ and A+. And tomorrow we're gonna have, because we haven't been reviewed for basically 4 years. And the one thing they hit the city on big time 4 years ago was the lack of cash carryover. You know, we're showing that we're gonna, in the general fund alone, we're gonna have a cash carryover this year, I believe, right at $600,000, the exact number. Right at $649,000. Well, cash carryover at the end of this year, which is a growth of about $100,000. We probably should have a cash carryover every year of $1 million+ in the general fund. The general fund for the new council members and everybody else out there are the items that are paid with tax dollars. The general fund includes general administration downstairs, city administrator, that's one department underneath the general fund, police, fire, and of course our fire is not, I mean, it's volunteer, but we have somebody going to the fire, there's other funds go to the fire as well. As Councilmember Allen will, and then you have rec and streets are all underneath the general fund. Now, we set budgets underneath them all, but it's one big budget. That's where the tax dollars go. All the general fund sales taxes go into that fund. Our share of the county sales tax goes into that fund. We also pay into that fund money from the utilities. So we take money and we pay from the electric or water fund and wastewater fund to the city, to the general fund, because it's the general staff downstairs that puts out the bills and maintains it. You know, part of things that I as administrator does is to operate the water and sewer also, which are enterprise funds over here to the side. So we have that, I mean, that committee comes across. Also, the general fund, money we get in for franchise fees. As you all know, the bill you get from Tyler's firm for electricity, there's a 5% franchise fee on there that you pay, it goes to them, it's us. Same way with the natural gas you buy, or you buy cable TV services, or telephone, or hardline telephone services. This city also, a few years ago, has franchise fees on our utilities, the water, the wastewater, that are charged also, and that goes into the general fund as well. So that all goes into the general fund. So there's our taxes. Our other tax supported entity would be the library, of course. And basically, the money they all get is property taxes. However, they split the vehicle taxes, motor vehicle taxes, truck taxes, stuff like that we get from taxes on those. It is based on the percent of what percent of our budget. Here's the total amount we get, and then last year the budget, for example, was 93% of the city went to the general fund and 7% to motor vehicle. They get 7%. Our library is about 9% of our total mill is 80 mills, and they're going to get 7.116 mills. That's about 9%. As I told the library board one night when I was there with the Mid-Kansas Library, sorry, Great Bend, whatever that's called, from Great Bend lady was there, is most cities levy about 10% of their tax dollars for the library. I mean, there's lower, those 7% probably. I know one that's almost 20%. But you know, that's kind of the way support is for the library goes. And again, you gotta realize their only source of revenue would be what we get from property tax dollars, and then there's your share of motor vehicle taxes. They do not get a share of the sales tax, they do not get a share of the franchise fees, so it's more tax fund. We only have 2 tax funds. We have 2 other that are listed on there. One is debt service, and we have debt service right now, but we do not have to raise tax dollars at the present time. You do have a 1.4% sales tax, which takes in about $130,000 a year that goes to debt service fund. Plus, you also transfer from the water and wastewater, because we had some old bonds that were tied for water and wastewater, which you could use geo bonds for. So we got a transfer of money over there, it works out there. We also pay some of our debt from the TIF funds and then the CID, and of course, as you know, the CID is ending. And so that's gonna go away now, so all good things, and that's gonna happen there. And at some point in time, as I mentioned earlier summer, we're gonna have to look at the TIF more because, you know, we got $1.5 million in the TIF fund. And you continue with the TIF, do you end the TIF, what do you do there? Because the problem with the TIF is, by having the TIF, the property taxes those entities pay don't go into the regular general fund. I mean, they go to general fund, and then we have to reimburse them back out. Same way with NRP, neighborhood revitalization funds, that people will get, they fit the NRP program. So, you know, it's just the give and takes you have right there. Like I said, I think we're in good shape. I was really taking a look at the general fund part. I don't think there's anything big there. As far as the water and, we did, one change we did make in the budget. If you notice there in that second group of funds on the front page there, opioid settlement fund. This city, I was going through here, you always should have had an opioid settlement fund. You had to put it in the general fund. Should do that. Also, so move it out and put it in its fund by itself. So Angela will be making a transfer to a separate new fund now. No big deal there. Other things we have, a special highway fund, where that's money we get from the state for fuel taxes. And it's a form from the state. And everybody believes, oh, it's fuel tax and the fuel that's bought here in the city. Not necessarily. Every city in the state of Kansas gets fuel taxes. And I'm talking about cities with a population of 15. And there's no filling station in downtown. There is a state, there's a form of how to get those. That amounts in the 70-some thousand range, if you remember right. And it just doesn't change a whole lot. We use that for our street work. We also have stormwater utility, as some of you know. Residents pay $3 a month. You know, and that's goes to stormwater utility. And most of that water, I think the money has been used to fix curb and gutters. Now somebody says, well, why don't you build me a new curb and gutter? I don't have one. Well, most curb and gutters were built probably in a development stage, probably through some special assessment or, you know, years ago, of course. And so, you know, it's just a different thing happened there. And we have other funds, special parks recreation. That fund is alcohol money. If you look at second funds, that is alcohol money. We get about $7,000 of alcohol tax next year. Half goes into the general fund and half goes into special parks and recreation. Solid waste, as you know, we don't operate solid waste, we just bill them, we have to select this. So basically it's giving out money, and we get a little admin for that. Tourism, of course, we have the tourism, the bed tax, and that's used for different tourism events. I know this year was used for a lot of stuff we had there, and Cowtown days or rodeo days, whatever you call them nowadays. And also the Rhythm of Reels use tax money too. Part of the bed tax money is going to be used was given to the youth wrestling club because they had a big tournament and they needed more equipment. So all good stuff, and all good stuff there. Water and sewer. At one point in time, I wanted to break these two up. The more I got into it, I don't want to yet because we just raised the rates this summer. We just got to get stabilized out there where we're at there. And I think maybe in the future we can do that. With the rate increase we made in July, I'd like to get a couple more months of revenue in our belt to know that, you know, I would like to say we ain't gonna have to raise rates again, but I think you maybe look, especially on the sewer side, raise rates, but you get that big thing coming. You know, one thing about the S&P review is its reserves. You know, one of the questions they have is why did our reserves go down, especially water and wastewater? You know, and a lot of us because we didn't set that money aside, you know. And the one thing I find out is one thing I'm adamant on. When you do a project, make sure you identify all the costs of that project ahead of time. And I'm gonna use the water meter AMI system in there. When that was financed, I don't know if everybody financed enough. You know, maybe when you put those in, you should probably raise rates at the same time, and it didn't happen. And got you behind the eight ball, that's why we have to get things completed now, but again, I think we're moving in the positive direction. It can't be done overnight, I mean, I know with the water wells right now, people say we gotta drill those 2 new wells, I says, no, we gotta get financially stable and then drill the wells. Or borrow a lot of money, and again, we're looking at those issues as well. So that budget in place, I think it's a good solid budget, it'll fit the needs, I think you'll build cash carryover. Boys at the department has to win more money. I said, we can just borrow money, stuff like that. The problem with borrowing money is it's gonna get paid back. And, you know, we've used a little bit of lease purchase. We do one lease purchase that we did this year for the police car, which not saying we'll do it yet, but probably maybe come December, Angela and I may look at that again and may recommend that we pay that one off because there's no prepayment on there. And with the cash carry we carried into, I want to grow cash carryover, but I also want to grow it at a rate that's reasonable, because if we get caught up in a few things, we will. Because if you grow too fast and you back that down, nobody remembers you going up, they remember you coming down. But there's ways to manage through. I think you're actively funded, you know, I went back, looked today, with this S&P review. You know, in 2020, we had a mill levy of 7.3. We're at 80 now, so maybe a little higher than I'd like to be. Because the valuation has grown about from 2020, even though the valuation was slow, we have now grown from 2020 now about 30% in valuation. Now you're all complaining because county appraisers push your billings too high. But as I always tell people, when valuations go up, and trust me, I can't marry when valuations really were going up, is what else do you invest in that you don't want your investments to grow? So when your house investment goes up, it gets valuable for. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Everybody's bad to pay taxes. I pay them too. But nevertheless, it's just part of the thing that has to happen. And you gotta fund government, you gotta fund responsibility. I think we're getting to that point there. I feel confident with this, so that's all time. Unless you have questions, unless the public has questions.
Okay, I've got a question about expenditures.
Okay.
So I see like everything went up. Okay, I get it, but I feel like there's a really big jump in airport. Okay. So what is what's that about?
Okay, that's real simple.
Cause we get a lot of grant funds to cover airport.
But you also have, and one thing you have to look at too, in this discussion I want to have later this fall is, last year you received a grant for the airport with a $75,000 match.
Mhm.
I know your November meeting, you said you don't want to go after that. I think myself and our consultant, Brad, finished, he talked to that, goes, why didn't you apply for a grant that you don't want to take now? I think we can talk about that sometime. What I also did was this. I had some funds extra, I thought, and I could put them somewhere, I just split them amongst all different funds. Now, if we don't need them in the airport and we need them for fire, we should do that.
Sure.
I just put them in that area now, but since they fall under general fund, you can move out across.
Right, okay.
And that's why.
There was like something specific I was missing.
Now, the thing is I do think this fall, we want to talk about that grant again. You really want to turn a grant down, because I always take the attitude, if you apply for a grant from KDOT and you don't take it, then the grant gods be good to you next time. And again, that's why when we're applying for any grants here, and the policy we're making change now here, we've done, is like, you know, Louise brought up for the plans downtown. You approved her apply. You approved applying for the grant for that Ronnie wants to do for the South the Rec Center. Even though we're a little rough here tonight, but you gave approval for handling the grant funds for, if we do anything for the TNR program.
Okay.
Again, don't apply for a grant until you have the funds in place, or make sure you have the funds in place. Go back to, if we ever do a community development block grant fund, now we're doing the one this year for the housing, but hopefully we get it. Got the final what we're gonna get, but we haven't got the final word. You are getting it. But if you ever do one for community improvements, like a street project, you got CDBG funds, they make you show that you have the money place before you apply. I think it's disaster to apply for a grant and turn it down, but I want to visit with that more. So if we need to do that, there'll be funds available there. If not, those funds will stay in the airport, they stay in the general, but you gotta realize budget's made of two things. What we established the budget is we established spending authority. This is the maximum we can spend, and even though it's broken down like for airport and everything else, the nice part about it is the general fund. If something bad happens to the streets, we have a snowstorm every weekend, starting in January, and then we come back and do it this fall. And you're just hitting overtime. And we tear up streets because of that. We have to fix them that year. If you run out of money in the street department, you still gotta fix it. But you're not running out of money because it's all part of the general fund. But you have the spending authority that's left over here as long as you have cash. And of course, you have the cash over here, it's another part. You can't exceed expense authority, if not, you have to amend your budget, but you also have to keep your cash here, because, I mean, and the whole goal is to try to grow that reserve every year a little bit, because things are gonna happen, especially in the utilities, water and wastewater. Something's gonna happen, but I don't know what it's gonna be. And it could be this expensive, it could be this expensive. Trust me, and again, I've always been noticed a tornado guy, because I went through one 24 years ago and avoided it. Thank God that community had reserve funds in place, or it'd been hard. Now, you'd have worked your way through it, but it's a whole lot easier to get through a tornado when you have reserve funds in place. Because you don't have to think about doing it, you can do it. And you're gonna have to do it anyhow, but now if you have this another level of trying to find funding and everything else and doing debt down the road. And I realize if you ever had a disaster, you get 85% state and federal funding. But when you get expenses like employees now, I had municipal electric there. When you have to spend $4 million to replace the electric system in town, and it's only costing 15 cents on the dollar. But that's a big number for a little town. I mean, it really is. And that's why I'm such an adamant on reserves. On the water and wastewater, I'm adamant that our reserves need to be 6 to 12 months of unencumbered revenue. In other words, if in a year's time you get X dollars, that's what the reserve should be. Because something's gonna blow. I mean, we don't know when the next pump's gonna go. It could be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. If you come to the electric side, like I had 3 cities on electric in, a good substation, about $500,000. And you need to have funds available because you gotta fix and go. So there's a reason to have funds. Now, a lot of people don't like reserve. Well, if you have reserve, that means you only for taxpayers more. Well, there's that fine balance there. I mean, too much reserve is bad too, but trust me, reserves are important and they'll help financial ratings and everything else. So, but yeah, I think we have plenty of money. I mean, I stuck it in there. I can move it around. I have to. We can. It's just, it's a placeholder.
Well, I like the way you did the budget this year. The way we did it before was horrible. I mean, that's awesome.
You could argue I took too much control.
That's.
But I told you.
$2,000, when we didn't have
Yeah.
to. I mean, that's awesome.
It's got a whole man here.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the way we did it before, that was horrible. Wow, hopefully we never have to do that again like that. You guys are lucky.
So I know you've put some money into places, you said placeholders. Is there somewhere in here that you can identify that there's a line that I can still look and say, this is how much you dispersed because you even put it in placeholder?
Okay, what we'll do is now every month, and again, you're a rookie here. I mean,
And that's why.
you're even more rookie than the other guy. And but that's hard. You seem to, you're like established now, this Councilmember Moody. So every month, Angela gets your reports.
Yeah.
And in the first meeting every month, and we can sit down with you sometime and show us reports how money gets spent throughout the year.
Okay.
Even though I know you're elected by the public, I think you have really good staff here, and staff guides that. And it should guide it, and it should go, hey, you have problems here, identify those. Now, I realize, I'm a different, I'm in, but I'm a different city administrator maybe you have, because I'm settled in my old fashioned ways of conservative, keep the money, so you have something for the future and everything else. And trust me, I came from a city that had more debt than any city should ever have for a city of their size. I always said if by state law, the city could go bankrupt, you can't, but by state law. Junction City should have filed bankruptcy 15 years ago. But you can't do it in Kansas. They've worked their way through it. So trust me. So I'm fairly fiscal conservative. Now you gotta be careful though to be fiscal conservative, because fiscal service means that you don't do anything either. And if you don't buy new vehicles or fix a truck or fix streets, or even in the case of water, we've probably been too fiscal conservative, because now we got 2 wells that are in trouble. We got pipelines that bust all the time. It's within a plan. You're gonna get that with a plan, and I think there's a pathway to get there, but it's not an overnight. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So, we can identify those through, and I think this is maybe one of those mid-years you're gonna have here where I'm trying to put stuff in place, so when the next person comes in to hire after me, they can then line it up better. He gets that. It's really tough. And of course, I said the most important thing you need to do in replacing the effort is try to find somebody that could be here 5 to 8 years to get some status, because that's what you had, 10, 12 years ago, so lengthy. And then you went through a period of now that every 2 years. And that's where you get some differences there, It's exceptional program. I think we're getting there. When you have questions, holler at us, we should answer them too.
So, Mr. Dixon, you get a scan, couldn't you? We could just keep.
I'm a day-to-day kind of guy.
What's today?
Yeah.
Now you can ask them any public comments.
Yeah, there'll be any public comments about the budget? Library board, do you have any comments?
So now we funded it pretty well. I'm happy. And you're gonna be getting your check here shortly, because I didn't think my deal, always time to talk about the fifth funds. But that's where some of your money is. Long story. Okay. Talk.
Public hearing can be closed.
Let's close, yeah.
All right, public hearing, we need to vote on it, or,
No, that's next.
okay. So now we have no unfinished business. We go to new business, and the first item on the new business list is to approve the 2026 budget.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the 2026 City of Ellsworth budget as published.
I'll second that.
President of Council Coates has made a motion to approve the 2026 budget as published. Councilor Renard has seconded that motion. Any concept, any?
Do we have to do a roll call vote for that?
No,
No, we don't.
All right,
you're not doing an R this year.
Okay.
okay, good question.
Good catch.
Any comments or concerns about this?
Yeah,
Revenue neutral.
yeah. We had revenues rate, you had to have a roll call vote.
Right.
So,
Well,
again, new guy, I just want to, in full transparency, I do want to point out, I am on the fire department, and that is one of the departments on the budget. So would everybody prefer I abstain from this vote, or?
I would say you don't need to serve, here's why. First of all, you're a volunteer. You're not getting any personal gain by the budget. You have a passion for a good fire department, but somebody on here may have a passion for a tennis court, or a passion for streets, or a passion for water.
Okay.
Passions are not, you receive no financial gain.
Right.
So I see no, no way your family's gonna get a gain from it. If you were married to a police officer, maybe, and again, I've had council member spouses work for the city. And they still, because it's part of the whole budget, and and that officer didn't get anymore because the budget passed or not, so you're fine.
Okay.
And also, if you do pass this, before you leave tonight, every one of you, all 6 of you, make sure you see her, because you all gotta sign the budget. So do not leave till you talk to them, please, if you don't. If you don't talk about it, you're in trouble anyhow, so,
Good question. Very good question. Any other comments or concerns? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The 2026 budget has been approved.
don't leave me about the Louise.
Okay.
No, why not?
I have to get up and leave.
We have a meeting going on, sir.
All right, next item, Douglas Avenue, Highway K-14 crossing between the tennis courts.
Mr. Mayor, council members, of course, we had the comment last spring about the need for a crosswalk and tennis courts. You gave me permission to have a preliminary engineering study, or at least concept drawn up, with Justin Owens of Claw Valley Engineering. And as I mentioned before, anytime in my letter, anytime I ever work with a firm that I've worked with before, I want you to know I had this, so there's nothing, again, I'll be open there. Alan's a Claw Valley person, yeah, Alan's used Claw Valley a lot, I had great luck with him, and I worked close with Justin before, but it's out there. He has the project drawn up there, his estimate, it was potentially $32,000. Maybe in there 10,000 for some signaling in there. The one thing he suggested is he thinks this is very helpful for TA funds, transportation alternative from KDOT. And as far as we know, that'll be in February, they're gonna take applications. So I would suggest we wait until then, but maybe start working on, unless there's some other questions here we need to do. This is actually coming a little here cheaper than I have, some sidewalk in there, there's some ditch issues. I don't think there's any issue that we don't get a crosswalk up there, but I'm adamant that we're gonna do a crosswalk, make sure it meets all ADA requirements and everything else. That's why we reached out there. We can move forward with any questions, but basically, if not, just gotta go ahead and start pushing ahead with it. And then when the grant's available, we'll bring it back to you. But this would be some tie the 2 courts together, and I think, and he did suggest, if you notice his letter there, a light can be put in there for about $7,000 a beacon. And they have that available, so again, this came, and for everybody in the public here, this came from a concerned citizens, now council, by the way, but a concerned citizen who shared his concern with us, and we'll start the process, and again, how do you fit the financial and everything else. Thank you.
Could there be any help from the school on this moment?
I think,
If they look at this.
I think they're unhappy to, but I think maybe that one will apply for the funds if the match is the place for it. Yeah, I don't think, and I've not shared this with the superintendent yet, but she's been very.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good for.
Well,
everybody,
yeah.
I think. So what are we doing? What do we need to do here?
Basically says you like the idea of move ahead, young man.
You guys like it?
Yeah,
Well-
love it.
They have it good too.
All right, Mr. Moon, I think it's your motion to be made.
No, I don't think it's gonna need a motion.
Okay, we don't need.
Because we're acting, just basically, consensus that we're gonna move forward and look for an outside funding with KDOT.
Yeah.
But again, that's just consensus, so.
Yeah.
No motion is needed, just want to keep up to date
Sounds
that,
good.
that we're moving. Absolutely.
Good. All right, next item, to appoint the interim city administrator as hearing officer for termination extension request for the months of September and December.
Mr. Mayor, since this meeting is a week earlier because of the budget meeting, which worked out well, of course, I think worked out with everybody's schedule next week anyhow. Normally, people are allowed to have extension requests come to the city council at the second meeting of each month. I haven't looked at cabinets that I've been here, but if we have to make it available in December, not in the second meeting we voted last time. So basically, it would give me the authority to do the request if there's some, just to cover the city, and then we can follow our ordinance. But we need a motion appointing me as such for those 2 months.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint the city administrator as hearing officer for water sewer termination request for the month of September and December in 2025. I'll second.
Councilmember Hanson has made a motion to appoint the city administrator as hearing officer for water and sewer termination request for the months of September and December of 2025. President of the Council Coates has seconded that motion. Any debate, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a municipal agreement with the state of Kansas set-off program.
Mr. Mayor and council members, City Treasurer Mueller received this late Friday afternoon. We were able to get it on the agenda yet. This city has been using the state setup program since 1994. Basically, if you don't pay your water and utility bills and disconnect and you move away and everything else, we can send it to the state of Kansas. And 5 years down the road, you get an income tax refund. They'll take that money and send it back here. As you can tell, there's an 18% fee, and they're raising the rates. That's why it's going from 18.4 to 19%. If we have all the stuff and we don't have all the numbers we need, it's from 23.4 to 24%. If we don't have the social security numbers, it will be INs. And so they have a little more with their side. It's worked for 30 years. I'd recommend you continue doing it. I don't know if we use a lot, but again, it's a way for the city to collect money that's owed to the city. So.
I've never even heard of it. Does anybody else?
Probably most cities in Kansas use it because you can do other collection agencies, sometimes you can get them or not, but this is, you know, if you never get a state tax refund or anything from the state, I suppose lottery is probably falling there too, so it's rare with the lottery, we're getting money, so.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the municipal agreement with the state of Kansas set-off program and allow Mayor Daniel A. Finnegan to sign the agreement.
All right, Councilmember Renard has made a motion to approve the municipal agreement with the state of Kansas set-off program and allow the mayor to sign the agreement. Councilmember Allen has seconded that motion. Any concerns? All right, any comments?
No.
None. All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we now move on to department heads, and I see an empty table. Am I right? Oh, wait, there we go, David. So, sorry, I couldn't see past it. Would like to come up, David, give us a quick update?
Can you give a quick, of the county this morning? Because I think since the chief was here and asked. I got a call this morning from the weed department, she had water issues, and David went up there and spent some hours up there.
David McCall, water and sewer fund. I spent an hour and 45 minutes up there flushing fire hydrant, so we could get chlorine residual activity for. I took pictures, I sent them all to him, to be showing what was going on all the time that I was doing it. When I first started the fire department, or the fire hydrant, it was, I mean, yellow, kind of oranges. And by the time I was done, it was clear. And finally, the toilet, the weed department was starting to clear up, not yellow anymore.
You went from 0 to what, 2.2?
Yeah. I went from 0 when I first started. And in about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, I finally got a residual. Well, before that, I got a residual of 0.1. And that was about an hour, a half hour. I finally got that. And then about an hour and a half, I started getting a little bit more. And then by hour and 45 minutes, I finally got 2.2 in the bathroom, and I got 3.1, I think, in the shop.
What do we shoot for on a normal house?
Our normal one, we usually shoot for around 2. If it's higher, well, it's higher, but the closer we are from the water plant, the more you're gonna have. Your chlorine residual is gonna be higher. But the further away you go, it's gonna be less, but like out at Empire, probably about 1.5 to 1. You know, that's what we normally try to do, up and down in 2 areas, so that nobody, if anything is in there, then. So,
So why is it wasn't so moving?
because it's a dead end. It's just. Everything's right there and. I'm not sure exactly how the water lines are ran in there, but I'm thinking it's really close to the fire hydrant. So with it being dead end, the fire hydrant collects all the debris. And so when it collects that debris, then it also goes into each of them. And we don't have a ready mixer no more, so the ready mix used to run, a lot. So we didn't have the issue as much back then as we do now. We just don't have the usage of it. I don't know. I don't know, if you want to say the cure would be basically,
It's always moving.
yeah,
In an ideal world, you want to have water coming from as many directions as you can. I mean, that's why at the end, I mean, and I know in the bigger city, but we try to loop all of our lines. That way, if something does get bad or you have a break, if you have good valves, you can come from there to register because you don't have the volume I had. Like just said, I had 16-inch line, so we had other ways to get around if we had to look for, and it keeps the water moving and it keeps everything fresh. But you will get problems. I mean, I think I mentioned this last time, maybe poison tornado, we lost all those houses in the center district.
right,
And, one house built back in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, they were back in there, it was a brand new house, it was a brand new house, it was for 9 months, and it was rebuilt right away. We had problems with them until we started getting more customers again, because what used to be 190 some customers, was now 1 and then 2. Then when it got into 80, 90, then again, the movement started happening more. But it's about movement.
yeah.
Now
we do
what
have-
our solution is.
We do have a 12-inch line that runs all down the state. And, so we only have a 4-inch line running down Colorado.
Are we gonna tie them two together? Is that? the plan?
Well,
No, I think we just keep watching it.
Yeah,
That's what,
yeah. keep on,
If I wouldn't got a call, see what's here, we got a call this morning, so now's the time you start educating everybody on it.
and, so, I'm gonna just try my best to get up there sooner than later. And get it, so I don't have to be up there that long to get some residual.
So,
But,
so question, and again, I have no clue, it's just a question.
right,
So whatever you did here recently to rectify the situation, and that be done every 60 days, every 90 days?
no, it'll have to be done almost at least probably once a week. I was like, 2 weeks went by. And this is what happened. I mean, it took me an hour and 45 minutes to finally get it where it was, so. Yeah,
And there's a cost factor on once a week,
yeah, I mean, we're wasting the water, I mean, and, and they don't drink the water anyway. I mean, because they know that it's not, and so they buy the bottle.
They have less of a problem than they are in.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's, and now when they're doing weed killing, they don't have that kind of a problem because they're moving the water. But they don't do the weed every day, they might do it once every 2 weeks, but. Yeah, that's. I don't know if there's anything else you guys need to know or.
Appreciate the update for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. I don't see anybody else out there, city attorney, not here tonight, so city clerk. Have nothing. City administrators, all right, let's move on.
Of course, I have something.
Okay.
I didn't get it before last Friday, so I'm a little behind there, but, we move forward on the Conco Drive 156. KDOT project, that's a secret project. It's going to be paid for 95% by the state of Kansas, up to $1.1 million. As you know, my notes, the last couple of weeks, next year, KDOT is also going to be doing mill and overlay at 156, from 140 all the way to the county line. And they were about this piece, they said, the city had to pay for it, and I said, we ain't gonna. And so that's when they upped the amount of money we're gonna get, the maximum from 1 million to $1.1 million. So, in the worst case scenario, it looks like our cost will be in that $60,000 range, everything, maybe a little higher, lower, but that project's supposed to get bid in January. It's all being handled by KDOT, so, we'll be signing some things there that happens down the road there. Hopefully they get good bids and we move forward with that. Chip and seal is gonna happen pretty soon. Talking to Troy this morning, because Troy's still out from surgery. But he's doing some work at the house. Circuit she's gonna start pretty soon, and I know it's going around the school area, there's some conflict there, but I think they'll work with the school district. Again, chip and seal needs, you're inconvenienced for 2 hours, and I get that, and people are always gonna complain, and trust me, I've had those before. I've had people complain about how bad their street is, and then the day we did something there, you're going like, "Tear my street, you're blocking me from my house." Give me a day, give me a few hours, you know, and it just always happens that way. I mentioned before at S&P review, we're gonna have, and I'm gonna meet with by phone tomorrow, and hoping to keep our A+ rating. I think we have, they have a lot of questions that we have to answer, like, why did some reserves drop, and do we, what the long-term plans are and stuff like that. And I think we handle those moving past a little bit. We do get on a little bit by, we had some costs back in 2021 when you had the cyber issue. And in the city here, and the cost push, city got money back, and insurance company covered, that was a big thing out there, cyber. And the other question they have what question they have is finances, and a lot of it has to do with governing body, but also with staffing. And again, that's why I think it's important that we move on after me, try to find a person that can be here for a while and start establishing policies and procedures and everything else. And again, this happens in every other board, so that move through that, and not gonna move one. But that's what we try to do right there. But they have a lot of questions we have to answer, like, why did we have money left over? Why did we run short one year? Why did we have more money left over? I don't understand the question about having money left over. It's a good thing because you budget properly and you have good financial stuff there. We are working and get back on the more employee handbook that's been in process forever, like most cities have. And we'll try to get that knocked out, but to this fall employee handbook. The one that was being worked on in my mind has a lot of things that we can't afford to do, and we'll probably take some of those out and bring back to you here. And again, you got to take care of your employees, but you also got to be reminded of budget and everything else, so they get paid for. Next meeting, of course, this is now gonna be available next October 13th.
Yeah.
And we're open for Columbus Day, so we're in good shape.
All right, very good. Anything else?
That's that's
No, it's.
I know embarrassing what we do.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Very good. Councilmember Bernard, you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. President Council votes.
Yes. It's just a little announcement I'm gonna put on my extension hat. So we are doing our second annual suicide awareness event this Saturday. It's called Fight for the Life. It's out at the rec center. We start at 7, and then we're having a ceremony of light at 7:30. And then if you want to stick around for a glow walk run, you're welcome to join us for that. But we're gonna have a lot more resources available this year than we did last year. Central Kansas Mental Health Center will be there. ECMC is supposed to be there, but then we're gonna have a lot of ag producer related resources as well. So if you don't want to come walk in the dark, that's fine, but come show your support, get some resources, help a friend. The whole idea is that we're just starting that conversation and helping to reduce stigma around mental health and suicide prevention.
So is it?
It's Saturday, the 20th. starts at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Don't come in the morning, I won't be there. Yeah, so if you want to walk, there is a registration cost for that, and if you want a shirt, you'd have to order that from the Fine Design. Yeah,
Yeah, very good. Just, I got notes today, it's on Facebook, but noticed that town of East Shore, the other Shea had an issue with a bullies, right now, where kids committing suicide. And that's in that town big hard, so, you know, I thought there was, I was amazed at State Fair, the number of resources popping up this year for
yeah.
mental health and suicide prevention and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so because we're doing this, ECMC has done a week-long event for their staff, and then they have a virtual keynote speaker event Thursday at noon or Thursday evening at 7 p.m. So we're having a watch party across the street at the courthouse conference room, only in the evening at 7 p.m. So if that is something you're interested in, it's a husband and wife duo. I think they're from Wichita, but talking about their journey with mental health and building resilience. And anybody is welcome either at the ECMC admin building or, like I said, the courthouse conference room. So free to attend. So come out. We appreciate that. And then since I have the mic still, we have one more mental health type of thing this month. So we're kind of co-hosting this with Central Kansas Mental Health Center. We're doing mental health first aid for rural communities. It's a new training. It's $5 to attend because some of the money that we raised from Fight for the Light is going to help cover those registration costs for people in the community. So we're doing that at the ECMC admin building. It's September 30th. It is an all-day training, so it's 8 a.m. to I think 5 p.m. Lunch is provided. All of the other mental health first aid trainings that we've had them facilitate have been very worthwhile. So this is, you know, geared for us, for people living in rural communities, and it's going to be a little bit different than people living in metropolitan areas. So if that doesn't interest you, please share that with somebody that you know that may be of interest to. And I'm done.
Very good. That's a lot of great information. Thank you.
That's the mic.
Yeah, Council Member Allen,
I don't have anything to add, just glad to be here.
thank you. Appreciate you being here. Really do. Council Member Moon.
I don't have anything, welcome aboard.
Very good. All right, Councilor Hanson. Nothing. Okay, so it leaves me. Had a chance last week to go to Washington DC. It was an interesting trip. It was a sad trip. Happened to be in the White House complex the day after that shooting, and I can tell you that the White House staff was very sad. It was a very sad moment. They gave us the option just to leave and try it again another day, and we decided to stick it out, and they did too. So I was really pleased that we did. The White House is a complex, and we got to go to the building called the Eisenhower Annex, which is next to the West Wing. And these are all executive department people who lobby, listen to lobbyists for agricultural policy and all kinds of policies. A lot of Vice President Vance's staff is there too. So it's all primarily executive Trump appointees and things like that. So it was exciting to go there, but it was a sad day to be there. So certainly thankful to have the opportunity. And I couldn't have done this without being mayor. I think that my niche was to be this local politician who knew nothing about agriculture. And I felt like as the year-long program progressed, I realized that I was valuable to them and my voice was listened to. And I think where we shine, and you don't realize it, is that we do bond with the elected officials. They've been at this level. They have memories of it. And once you sit across from them, they warm up to you a little bit more than they do to the others. And I think it's because we have this experience. So don't underestimate this experience and where it can take you. So I noticed that right off the bat. So without further ado, I just thank the city of Ellsworth and for the opportunity to have been mayor, and for Kansas Farm Bureau and the opportunity to go to the leadership program. So with that said, let's adjourn the meeting.
And so we will tell you your son.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All right, President of the Council of Codes has made a motion to adjourn the meeting, and Councilor Hanson has seconded that motion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Right.
you out of the way, so you can. But.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah.
Take it out.